Like,
Kenneth Chaseborough called for a speedy trial, so they said October 23rd, and they agreed. A judge confirmed.
Yeah,
they said they wanted Trump to go in March 4th. Willis proposed the trial should start for all 19 defendants on March 4th, 2024.
Wow.
Yeah, Trump's team is going to fight that and be like, we need more time to prepare. Go over to discovery.
Right.
They're gonna file extensions. There's no way.
I don't even know why Trump went to Georgia in the first place. Force Joe Biden to send federal marshals to extradite Trump from New Jersey or Florida. Florida's a better bet because New Jersey they didn't extradite Trump in 2 seconds. But if Trump went to Florida and said, whatever charges may arise out of, if he went to Florida and said any charges arising, and right next to Georgia, by the way, arising out of Georgia, they can send the legal paperwork to my house, serve me proper legal service, for which I will respond. But the idea that you can go on the TV and claim I have to surrender is not legal service. Then what would happen is they'd have to contact Florida, right? Georgia would have to ask law enforcement in Florida to apprehend and extradite Donald Trump.
So I'll tell you how it would go. So, because I've done this, I've seen this happen before. So if you are a fugitive from justice and you're out of state and they know that you're out of state, or they can no longer fulfill that warrant, what they're going to do is they're going to delegate that warrant to the United States Marshal Service. Once the United States Marshal Service gets the warrant, now they're responsible for going to go get them. So they would probably coordinate with the Secret Service. Hey, where's he at? We have to execute this arrest warrant that we have from the state of Georgia, and they would bring him in. Now, knowing Jack Smith and how he is, they would probably also get something out of Atlanta, out of the I think it's the Northern District of Georgia, whatever, the federal prosecutor's office over there in Fulton County. They would probably apply for what's something called the UFAP warrant, which is an unlawful flight to avoid prosecution warrant. And they would hit him with another federal charge because they know that he's indicted and he's not showing up. And then the marshals have to go get him.
That's after legal service.
I mean, he's been indicted by a grand jury, man. Like,
right. And so the government can't just go on TV and say, those guys from Fresh and Fit, they got 10 days to go to jail because we said so. You'd be like, what? Send me the legal paperwork requesting my,
They have a true bill. That's all they need.
So without legal notice, they can claim you're a fugitive without even telling you.
They have a true bill of indictment, and they're telling him that he's wanted.
No. I'm saying legal service requires they tell Trump that he's wanted.
They said you need to surrender.
Right. My point is, going on TV is not proper legal service. Like if I go on TV and announce I'm suing someone, they don't have to do anything. And then if I never give them the paperwork, they're going to be like, Your Honor, like going on TV and claiming a legal thing does not make it legal service. I agree. Improper serve.
But I mean, a criminal case, realistically speaking, whenever they indict you, right, they do it surreptitiously. They get an arrest warrant from the clerk and then they go pick you up so that you don't know you're being picked up. So in this case, they would just say, well, we indicted you. We have a true bill. Here it is.
Right.
They put it out there.
So the marshals would have to come to Florida and say, Trump, you are hereby under arrest for a warrant in Georgia. And then,
assuming he doesn't surrender, then they would have to delegate the warrant to the marshals.
Saying.
Yeah.
Donald Trump should have gone to Florida and said, deliver me proper service.
Oof. I don't know, man. I think he did the good thing by surrendering, because if he had done that, right, then Georgia would be like, okay, cool. We're not only are we going to file a UFAP warrant against you, so now you're going to get another federal charge.
Yep.
Now the marshals are going to go get you, and it's going to be a problem. So
then Ron DeSantis would have to be like, we're going to let him come in and just take Trump from his home. It's no big deal. And then there would be chaos and bedlam. Make them follow up with their threats. If there's these charges against Trump out of Georgia are psychotic and insane.
They're stupid. Yeah.
You make an argument about, and all I'm saying is that Trump should make them follow the law. Like the idea that Trump would take the extra effort to seek them out when they are accusing him doesn't make sense to me. If the police
no, but they have an arrest warrant for him.
And so I'm saying, go deliver the warrant. Go to his house, knock on the door. Here's your warrant. Okay, take me. We're going to Georgia. The idea that Trump contacted them and was like, I heard on the TV that you have a warrant for me. Should I come in? Makes no sense to me. He should be like, come knock on my door. Tell me that you have a warrant, or in some way initiate that through a legal process.
I'm sure they probably faxed the warrant to his legal team. It was signed by a judge. I guarantee you they gave that to him. They faxed it to his team and let him know. And the other reason too why they announced is that so he's put on notice. He can make, because you got to remember he's a president of the United States, a former president of the United States. They got to coordinate with Secret Service. You got 10 days to surrender, etc. So they have to do all this logistical stuff. But typically, you're never notified that you're being under arrest because they're going to come get you and then they're going to, oh yeah, we have a warrant for your arrest.
And I'm saying Trump should have had that happen. He should have had them just follow the proper legal protocol for coming and arresting him.
No, but I mean, they're going to give him the common courtesy, and then he's with the Secret Service, right?
I don't think any of us are served properly by Donald Trump proactively seeking out his political persecution, unless it's to just fundraise, and he knows it's not going to matter.
And they wanted to make a media spectacle about it, and it's
Trump's
like
giving, and so I think the proper thing is let them serve their warrant.
like go arrest him,
so,
go physically actually go try
Yes.
to go get him.
It's not like he's fleeing. He's in his house. They knock on his door like what they do with Roger Stone, and they say, Donald Trump, you're under arrest. And he goes, okay. And he gets in the car, and they go to Georgia. That's what they do. Roger Stone wasn't contacted and then told to go show up at their course. They went to his house. Trump should have said, I'm here. I'm waiting. Serve me the warrant. I got no issues. We will absolutely abide by the terms. I don't understand why it's incumbent upon him to proactively seek out his surrender in another state when they haven't served him.
They've done it. They've done it in all the cases, though. Every time they indicted him,
and I'm saying that Trump and all of his allies are surrendering and giving in and giving them everything they want. My point is, what position would this country be in if federal marshals were forced to go arrest the former president in his own home, and Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, agreed to allow it to happen? There's a certain point where if Trump, as the former president, says this stops, like not posting bond, call their bluff. Say, are you really intending a political persecution and prosecution of a former president? Then you will go by you'll go by the book. You will take the warrant, you will get it signed off, and you will come and make the arrest. Trump giving them what they want and calling them up on the phone and be like, I'll come, okay.
Well, here's the other reason too. Well, here's the other reason too. I see your perspective, but the other reason as well is that they can go ahead and say, okay, well, you don't want to show up. Well, we're going to remand you into custody.
Yes, 100%. That's my point.
Yeah. So, and you're saying that let them
Trump
get remanded into custody and everything else like that. But he wants to run, bro. He wants to go around and campaign and everything else like that. So he's looking at it like, all right, I'm going to cooperate, right? Because they're already trying to paint him as you started the January 6th riots, even though he said, protest peacefully. But the left tends to forget that he said protest peacefully. But whatever. So in his eyes, he's like, all right, I'm going to go ahead, go through the motion. I'm going to surrender. I'm going to abide by the law. Then I'm going to get out and do what I got to do. But I think for him, he's looking at it like, if I don't surrender, they're going to probably remand me into custody and I won't be able to campaign, which would be a nightmare for them to remand him into custody.
I don't think they would.
You could call the bluff. Yeah, that's a possibility.
So
I won't argue you on that.
The big problem that I see, especially with the right in this country, is capitulation every step of the way. Mm-hmm. The reasonableness, the desire to be reasonable and not engage. You're playing a game of Monopoly. You're watching the dude you're playing against pull bills out of the bank. And you go, hey, man, you're cheating. And they go, no, I'm allowed to do it. And you go, okay. And then you lose. And you go, man, how did I lose? That's what they're doing.
It's also his lawyers, too, that are probably... Because I guarantee you Trump is probably like, well, you know what? No, I don't want to show up. But his lawyers are telling him, hey, man, you got to show up. Like, let's just get this done. Let's do this peacefully, etc., so that you can keep campaigning.
And so what happens is every day, a grain of sand is added to the heap.
Yeah.
And as a better analogy is frogs in a pot boiling. As the temperature increases by 1 degree every day, the frogs... It's actually not a true story. Frogs do notice, but the analogy as it goes, if you put frogs in a boiling pot, they jump out. If you put them in water and slowly turn the temperature up, they just boil to death.
Yeah.
Because they don't realize the temperature is changing. It's actually not true. If the temperature gets too hot, the frogs will just literally jump out. But the stories are more fun. But that's what I'm saying. Like,
no, that's bullshit.
There's got to be some degree of Donald Trump, at the very least, providing the legal minimum of some kind of restraint or resistance in, if you guys have a warrant for my arrest, you have my address, and I will gladly, without resistance or anything, just go with you when you come to pick me up. Trump paid, how much did it cost to fly that jet? 50 grand? Trump paid $50,000 to go to surrender for them.
The other thing, too, you got to remember...
It's a path of least resistance.
The other thing, too, you got to remember is that when a warrant's put out for someone and there's a felony warrant out for them, Secret Service is still law enforcement.
That's right.
And
I'd like to see the Secret Service cuff Donald Trump and bring him to a van, and that's something the American people should see.
That's crazy.
They're like, this is awkward.
Yeah, because technically, because if you look at any whether it's a federal state warrant, it says to any peace officer and or officer of the United States. Most warrants are written like that, written in some kind of language like that. Secret Service is technically sworn law enforcement. So it's like, it gets tricky, man. It gets very, very tricky.
Leftists are willing to engage in a wide range of tactics, from nonviolent civil disobedience, which I think is the most effective and reasonable tool for political change. generating awareness, being obstructive, but not engaging in like overt acts of violence and like, no danger.
Yeah.
I'm talking about they will sit down on the street, piss people off. It's super annoying. And then they'll get arrested for it. I find it really annoying, but I think that's the right way to go about things. Some stress on the system, but nobody gets hurt. However, the left is also willing to firebomb buildings, pull out guns, shoot and kill people. Donald Trump's not even willing to say, please serve the warrant and I will gladly be arrested. He's saying, I will pay $50,000 to get on a plane and go fly to you so you can arrest me. And I'm just like, man.
And put up a $200,000 bond.
Yeah.
20 grand.
Yeah, 20 grand, 10%.
But I will say, to be fair, this is just more of a, what I'm really saying is, where's any degree of passive resistance? And I don't want to impose upon, I don't want to imply I know their legal strategy better. I think there's probably a reason Trump went about doing this.
I think his legal team is telling him to do this.
But I think it's political team
100%.
too.
Yeah.
I think his political team is saying the amount of money you're going to make off of this will absolutely be worth the trip. The amount of, like, the campaign will cover the cost of flying the plane for you to go, probably can't do it that way legally. But like the amount of money that you make in selling merch.
No, I was just going to say, the merch drop. He's like, he doesn't
boom.
get to plan the merch drop.
And here's the
He
other thing,
doesn't
too,
do
you
it
got to
that way.
remember. Like, it's very obvious that the media is willing to twist and contort Trump's words to make him sound like an insurrectionist. So it's like, by him not surrendering and not complying, they're going to say, look, we told you he's an anarchist. He doesn't care about the United States. January 6th, blah, 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 blah. So it's like, in his head, he's like, okay, I'm running for president. I don't want to put off an idea that I'm an insurrectionist, even though I'm not. But the media is against him. You look at MSNBC, CNN, all these guys, they're all vilifying him. And I'm like, that's not true. That's not what he said. But they do that, right, to make him look crazy. So in his head, he's like, all right, I need to surrender. And even though he could, say,
Right.
oh, you guys come get me. They could look at that as like, oh, look, we told you
The
guys.
law and order guy is out here not obeying. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's,
But that's
from
not
an optics situation, it could look bad too.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying he should do anything illegal. I'm saying he should just say, like, I am ready and willing to respond to any warrant.
Come and get me. Do your jobs.
But the media,
Yeah.
but you're
Yeah,
saying
like-
the media would twist it anyways.
They would
it wouldn't
twist it,
matter.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
the average person who's only paying
They would-
attention.
And I'm saying this
They'd
again.
write Trump refuses to surrender.
Yeah.
I'm saying this, that I think that the best route for him surrendering, because I'm looking at it from an optics standpoint, like from a law enforcement standpoint. I know how the judges are. I know what how they might look at it as they might remand him to custody. I want him to win. I'm gonna vote for him. I don't care. I'm putting it out there. But I want him to be able to run and be able to campaign and win and beat these assholes.
Isn't it telling that his co-conspirators, so to speak, are smiling in their mugshots? Yeah. It's kind of like maybe they know something that we don't know, but
I don't know if it's that they know something that we don't know. I
They
think
know
a
that
lot
it's
of-
BS charges.
Yeah. and
Yeah.
They know like you're really going ahead and indicting his lawyers in this
dude, the
situation.
Jenna
you
Ellis
guys are
charge
reaching.
is
Yeah, you guys are
insane.
reaching. And again, the state. So at the state level, they're okay with putting ridiculous charges on people to get a media spectacle, because the state doesn't care if they lose cases. The state loses cases all the time. It's the U.S. Attorney's Office that cares about winning cases, which is why I'm more concerned with the federal charges that Jack Smith is bringing against Trump versus these state charges.
what does it mean for America if he's convicted? You said anarchy a little bit.
Not anarchy. Anarchy is anarchy in the truest and purest sense is just no authority. It doesn't imply chaos or violence or anything like that. It could literally be a bunch of people sitting around sharing a peace pipe. You know what I mean? Conflict, active conflict between factions, and social disorder, social breakdown. So I do think a component could be civil war. We are likely in a period of civil strife right now. I often quote Stephen Marsh, who wrote the book and studied this. This is a period where typically occurs before civil wars, where a certain number of people are killed every year for political reasons, and the U.S. qualifies. There's a lot of people don't realize how many people are killed every year over some kind of political or ideological issue.
Yeah.
If Donald Trump is convicted, or if he's removed from one state, look, we all saw what happened on January 6th. They've got people locked up in D.C. who have not been charged with any crime. Do you guys know that?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've talked about the January 6th stuff as well. A lot of those people, most of them were charged with a BS misdemeanor, man.
And they're getting a year in jail because they walked around confused.
The Bureau went ahead and wasted a bunch of resources and time. Normally, federal agencies are not supposed to investigate misdemeanors, but they expended a ridiculous amount of resources to go after guys for misdemeanors. If you read those criminal complaints, a lot of them are misdemeanors.
What do you think happens when you got the Capitol Police setting up Tampa office? They got an office out on the West Coast somewhere, and they're hunting down people from January 6th And I'm not talking about people who are violent and fighting with cops, because you riot, you go to jail. There's one guy who's been locked up 2.5 years without any charges. And he was told, if you say Trump made you do it, we'll let you go right now. And he said no.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
And it's not the only case like that. There's a photo that just came out of a guy who was
Where's
in
he
a-
at? Is he at
they're
BOP or
they're-
where's he at?
DC prison? I don't know. I can pull it up.
Let's pull it up.
There was
What's
one
his name?
guy.
Let's pull it up.
Let's see.
Go BOP inmate.
I would
locator?
for that one. I have to ask Matt Brainerd.
Okay. Yeah, all we
Let
need
me-
is his name and his last name, first name, and then his approximate age, and we could pull it up on BOP.
I can.
Inmate
We
locator.
had a podcast with somebody that spoke about that, Myron. I forgot who it was. January 6th. I forgot who it was. Spoke about people being locked up.
Oh, look at this. Feds dispute story behind viral photos allegedly depicting January 6th prisoner abuse. So let's see. This was Tom Fitton.
Whoa.
Disturbing photos leaked of January 6th prisoner abuse, tortured 5 months in isolation in a closet room with a light on and a bucket for a toilet. So the Gateway Pundit adds on to it, claiming it, and they're saying that the Fed said that he had 9 prior convictions, terroristic threats. He had an assault conviction prior to that has nothing to do with January 6th. Okay, so they're not disputing. They're saying he's a criminal. Okay, but they're saying there's a litany of. Oh, okay, all right. It was a litany of charges related to January 6th, but he was a bad guy, so the photos are real, I guess. As for the other guy who's locked up, you have to ask Matt Brainerd, because I'm
Okay.
just, to be fair,
Okay.
I defer to him.
Okay.
I think it was Matt Brainerd who talked to us about
Yeah,
that on
because
the
we
show.
could look it up if
And Tom
we have
Fitton.
his name.
The guys who actually focus a lot more on the January 6th stuff than I do, to be completely honest.
Okay.
So then I'll walk it back and just say this.
Sure.
I met a woman recently. She said that she's getting probably 16 months because an hour later, after people had already left, she walked over and there's no barricades, there's no signs, there's nothing. And they walked up to the building where the doors are open. They don't see anybody. They see people walk around. They walk in, look around, 6 minutes in total. They walk out and they leave. Next thing they know, they're called insurrectionists and they're going to go to prison.
Wow.
And they were like, but we didn't even, like, we were just walking around. We're not even there for this. And they're like, don't matter. So you've got that going on. My point is this. What happens when,
Meanwhile, we won't prosecute Antifa people.
Yeah.
oh, for sure, Trump gets convicted. Nobody believes it. Trump gets removed from even a single state. The entire election will be viewed as illegitimate. And,
Yeah.
and already, 2016 was called illegitimate by Democrats. 2020 was illegitimate by Republicans. What do you think happens when they outright just say Trump's off the ballot? Roseanne Barr came on the show and said there won't be an election. And Michael Malice said, I'll bet you money that's not true. I said, let's clarify. By election, do you mean a typical election as we know it? Debate night, then everyone goes and casts their votes on election day, then they tell all the numbers, and then we say who won? Is that an election? Do you mean Joe Biden will come out and say, I hereby decree there is no election and bang a gavel? Or are you saying Trump will be removed and no one will think that what is actually happening is an election? Like some facade of election occurs, but it's not legitimate because Trump has already been removed. And so there's no way he can win. And Biden is a foregone conclusion, in which case people will say there was no election.
Yeah.
And then you've got half the country or more, slightly more actually, because independents will probably agree, not all of them, that an election never occurred. Unless Donald Trump is allowed to run, and unless he is on all of the states and we run it like normal, to be fair, even then people still won't believe it. But unless that happens, anything that puts a wrench in the spokes, Michigan removes Trump's name. They say, oh, he's in. Georgia removes his name. One state. Then you're going to have half the country say,
Do the states have that authority to remove his name from the ballot?
So under the argument that they're making,
They did it
to a guy named Coy Griffin in New Mexico. He was at January 6th, and they said, as an insurrectionist under the 14th Amendment, he is disqualified from holding office, and they removed him.
Wow.
That was their trial balloon. Now with Donald Trump, they want to do the same thing.
But that was under state law?
Federal.
Oh, they
14th
okay.
Amendment.
They use the 14th Amendment to justify.
Yep.
Okay. Gotcha.
So because the 14th Amendment says anyone who's waged insurrection, the reason they keep saying insurrection is because of the 14th Amendment.
Yep.
Which specifically says anyone who wages insurrection against the U.S. is ineligible. Blah blah blah.
Yep.
If Trump's name is taken off even one state, you will have you'll have half this country saying we never had a 2024 election.
Yeah.
Yeah. They better
Like-
let him run, man.
Imagine it's like North Korea. At that point, they just say it's North Korea. Oh yeah, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea had an election and Kim Jong-un got 99.9% of the votes again. And then the other guy who ran against them just goes, oh, well, everyone loves him.
Yeah.
And then afterwards they walk back and say, here's your paycheck. Keep your mouth shut.
Yeah, and my problem with this too is like if you're going to go ahead and go after Trump for these charges, then you got to look at the Bidens as well, man. I mean, the dude's receiving millions from China. His son's involved in some nefarious activity. Everyone has their dirt, so it's like, okay, if you're going to go ahead and go after politicians, cool, go after all of them.
Yeah.
Go
And they
after all
never
of them.
do.
Then
And
they never do. That's the problem.
That's the problem. And that's, I think a lot, this, I feel the same way about the media. Like, as much as we hate the media, and no matter how much you hate the media, you should probably hate them more in most cases, they would feel less bad if they even made a half of an attempt to be as willing to go against people on their own side to feign some sense of legitimacy and honesty in their reporting, right? If they were willing to report on Joe Biden's or even Hunter Biden's incidents half as much as they're willing to talk about Trump, you could at least feign some sense of objectivity from the media. The same with the government. If they were willing to go as much against Hunter and Joe, not offer sweetheart deals to Hunter, and actually seem like you were trying to hold, what do they always say? Speak truth to power. If you were actually trying to hold power accountable, maybe people might buy it more, but they don't, because they understand, at least the ones who are politically aware and pay close attention, understand that they're not going to do that, because they never do.
And this is why mainstream media is dying. You know, this is why guys like you are so important, right? Alternative media, right? You guys, Joe Rogan, etc. Like, this is why people are tuning in to other platforms to go ahead and get their news. I mean, CNN, MSNBC, these guys are dying. The last time they had as many views is what? When Trump was on the CNN town hall. Yeah. Like, he brought them a bunch of views. They're dying, bro, because everyone knows it's BS.
But this brings up another issue, though. So imagine alternate media, right? We have pretty much like free speech, so to say. However, if they come after us, what's next? Because once again, Trump is being, kind of like put on the stake because he's
vilified,
not with the establishment. What about us?
Media personalities are next.
100%.
So James O'Keefe is under investigation in New York. And what I was saying was after they go for lawyers, the next people are going to be members of the media who were in communication with Donald Trump and then who publicly advocated for some kind of action on January 6th.
Yeah.
Now, James O'Keefe is under investigation. That's more of a general, they're targeting their political opponents. Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.